We are recording with the one and only Dr. Mark Sherwood on Monday, June 5th, 2023 at 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time. And I am wearing a very loud hoodie, but it's because my air conditioning is working and I hadn't adequately planned for it to work as well as it's working. And so I got a blanket and a hoodie, and I'm not going to apologize for it. But Dr. Sherwood's been on here a couple times before, and you were just asking me beforehand, how am I doing? And it's I actually did want to talk to you about that. Is I was getting pretty burned out with the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I was just really hitting a wall. And it's one thing for me to maybe be tired at the end of the week, which is normal, and then you take a weekend and it's all good. But I was starting to get this pervasive fatigue, which was just turning into just anger that the podcast wasn't working, and to the point where even my mom was picking up on it. And so I took 10 days off, which is unheard of for me. I take 1 day weekends. Took 10 days off, probably put on a solid 5 pounds, and I just completely unplugged from the show. And I got thinking, because I took the MCAT 10 years ago, May 30th. And I remember I studied for 9 months for it. And for 8 months and 2 weeks, my scores barely budged. And I just started, I went, I have all the information. What am I doing wrong? And it was just, I was getting too anxious during practice tests. And I completely recalibrated how I went about it. My score shot through the roof. I scored in the top 5%. And so I was up at my parents and I was going, I have good guests. I have I have merch. I have Patreon and locals where people can support it. There's no shortage of episodes. What is going wrong? And I went and looked into Spotify and realized that after 1,240 episodes and over 3 years of being on Spotify, I had never turned on ads. And I just looked at it and I went, in like the last year, I've made maybe $50 on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in and I just went, is that it? And I just started tinkering. I've made I've probably made more money in the last 72 hours on Spotify than I have in the last year, maybe 3 years. And it's not even that. It's just there was something sitting in front of me the whole time that I didn't take into account. And so, with that self praising narcissistic rant, Dr. Sherwood, how are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. And
Yes, sir.
I concur, man, that what you're wearing it is loud and it makes noise even through the microphone. So it's good.
Good. That's the point of it, man.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, you're supposed to look at it and wonder what's wrong with me. Um, but so I was just thinking about that in just terms of kind of meditation, and as we talked about last time, kind of achieving goals. I want to know, what would your maybe wisdom be on that, as you are older than I am? What moments in life have, if any, have you come to where, hard work is necessary? Hard work is often the answer we don't like. But as someone that doesn't shy away from hard work, I'm it's always, sometimes I have to slow down and, like I just said, think that maybe the answer isn't hard work. Maybe I'm working harder, not smarter. I just want to know, if, because you've had quite an illustrious, impressive life, if you've maybe had those experiences too.
Of course. The old adage comes to mind, Tommy, don't miss the forest for the trees.
Okay.
It's like sometimes we can want something so bad, and the wanting it is not bad. It's actually a gift to have that passion and that desire and that want to. Sometimes we can want something so bad that we get hyper focused on it and miss the journey. And you miss the journey, man. You miss some of the blessing. And so, in every journey in life that I've lived, there's been times where I've done that too. I've wanted something so hard. I've tried and tried and tried and tried to kick the door in, kick the wall in, whatever the case may be. And I realized that if that was truly a calling, what I was supposed to do, yes, you've got to work hard, but you don't want to miss the life's lessons along the way, those little places you stop and recalibrate and maybe visit for a second. which are like, places and times where you might want to disconnect. You might need to get away from it. The second thing of that life lesson that applies to yours is it's about perspective. It's like, think about uh, maybe a cup, a clear glass of marbles, right? If you look at those marbles on one side from the whole day long and never change perspectives, and then one day you realize, you know what? There's another side of this cup that I probably need to look at. So you get around the other side and you go, damn, the same marbles, but they look different.
Okay.
And so it's about not losing the ability to enjoy the journey, and then also keeping the wisdom to have a broader perspective.
Okay. So it's looking at stars, and you can, if you went to different planets or different parts of the galaxy, you could see different constellations.
That's it. And sometimes, there's a saying that comes to mind: shoot for the moon, hit some stars.
Mhm.
If you will. Sometimes you find out when you're really pursuing one thing. I think this is kind of a little tangent, but not too far off.
Go for it.
You're pursuing one thing, and you realize that pursuit was only supposed to start you down a pathway, but it was not a destination. It was just
Okay.
a start down the pathway, and perhaps your destination is not that far down the pathway. It's you had to go this pathway, and then you have to take a slight turn and go that pathway, and then that pathway, and it really boils down to not limiting the perspectives and not limiting the goals. I mean, yeah, you got a goal in your case to make the podcast sustainable, reach a lot of people. That's awesome. And I believe that will happen.
Sure.
I believe people listening right now should share and talk about it. I think it's cool. I do. But at the same time, the lesson that we're talking about should go into everybody's heart, about not missing it, because
Mm.
too many people, man, go through life and miss their purpose because they're so aiming at the wrong objective, when really you should be aiming at your purpose. Your purpose is something that drives you on. What is your purpose? What is Tommy's purpose? What is Mark's purpose? And that should be the goal, the focus, not just achieving objectives.
Mm.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it does. It's and it requires some humility and openness on the part of the person trying to achieve. Of, I want this thing so bad. Well, what do I really? Oh, I want the podcast to succeed. Well, what do you mean succeed? Financially viable. I want it to be able to pay for my rent and my food. Okay. Well, if you keep opening and opening and opening, it's like, why did I want to get into medical school? Why I wanted financial stability, but I really want to help people. Now, I didn't look at it that way, but if I zoomed out enough, I might have said, okay, so what do I really want? You want to help people. Well, I have to go to medical school. Well, not necessarily. If your true goal is to help people, and I mean, 10 years later, I'm doing this podcast and I'd like to think I am helping people, but you have to remove the frame you put around it and you say it has to be achieved within that thing. And it's no, no, it does not. You might go, I want a full belly. I really want McDonald's. No, you don't want McDonald's. You want a full
Mm,
belly. That can be eggs. That could be a steak.
yep.
What you want is a full belly. And you have to open up to the idea that as much as you want this one thing and it has to be this way, and I won't be happy unless it is, that God might have a bigger plan for you. So it's be open to what it is. Who knows? Maybe the entire point of this podcast was to get me to a certain point, meet someone along the way, and then the podcast goes out the window. And I don't like that. It's Tommy's podcast. I work hard at it all day. And that's the ego coming in. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
what is the real goal? And it's an exercise in humility of maybe you don't know.
Well, I think that when you look at podcasts, you look at anything that's to do with the entertainment industry, whether it be podcast, television,
Sure.
media, whatever, movies. What you've done over the last 1,000 plus episodes is you've created a memorialization of your content. The memorialization of your content is going to be out there long past you.
Mm,
It will always be there. It is like etched in stone that is there. And that information that is there with the heart to help people is something that will always be there long past after you're gone off this planet. It will always be there. It always was there. And so it's something that you can look at. And again, it's changing the lens a bit, but we can say when we put out information with a good heart, with the intent, the purpose to help people, and it's through that filter. And we put it out there and it becomes memorialized through, videos that we have here, audios, etc. It's there.
mm,
And that's a win. That's a win anytime you look at it. Every day you get up and do that. That in itself is a win. And in the long term, the providence of that, how long does that go? Don't know. Don't know. We can't know. But
mm,
I know that we got to get up every day and, try to live within that purpose.
mm. So in what ways, so like you said, sometimes to really get a better grasp on it, you have to step away from it. And that is, you can keep hammering away. And it's my favorite method is to just keep hammering until I break through and I get what I
Yeah.
want. But sometimes you gotta go like I did. I turned it all off and literally went up into the mountains to my parents' lake house for 10 and just disconnected. And you slow down and you unplug everything and I was sitting on my parents, we were on a pontoon boat, and I was just sitting out there. And I started thinking about the MCAT, and I was like, how do I need to look at this from a new angle? And it's not fun to look, it's hard. And
Yeah.
what ways in your, because I mean, you've had, for people that don't know, you've had an insane life, man. Professional bodybuilding, professional baseball player, you're a doctor, you're on a SWAT team, like you've had a wild life. And I can only imagine that you've come to this before. So what methods have you used to step away from, to get that distance between you and the event?
Well, I have to. I mean, this is what I do like daily, and it's a patterned process. You have to have places and times where you can not be, man. You have to kind of just get inside self and figure out, what is God trying to say to me and get where you can listen. Because if you're talking all the time, whether it be to yourself or someone else, you can't listen. You can't listen and talk at the same time. So every day when I get up, as just a pattern, I get up. Most of the time, I'll have a cup of coffee and I might pray a little bit, and then I'm quiet for like, no kidding, like 30 minutes, and I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
say anything. I just sit there, and I probably look like a goofball just sitting there, but I
Mm,
just sit there trying to prepare myself for the day, and then I go to the gym, and then I will do that. And for me, I get in the gym, and it's not a point of how much weight can I push around or how much iron can I move. I put like for me, I'll put praise and worship in my ears just to keep myself in a calm space because I know I've got to go into my primary profession and give so into people's lives. And that's got to be so intentional, man. And every day, even today, the intensity of the conversations you have, you're talking about people in my world where you're dealing with marriage crisis, you're dealing with intimacy issues, you're dealing with health issues, you're dealing with financial issues, you're dealing with just all kinds of emotional issues and habits, etc. And it just takes everything out of you. So that's my daily routine. Then when I get home, I get quiet again with my wife. Of course, we work together. We're just quiet. But what we do, what we had to do, is every quarter at least, we will take a 3 to 4 day weekend and get the heck out of town. We will.
okay.
And then every 6 months at least, we will take at least an 8 to 10, maybe 11-day vacation and get
Okay.
away. Now, I don't necessarily, because we run our own business, I can't completely not answer the phone if there's a
Sure.
crisis, but I'm not day to day involving coming into the office doing that. I have to get away from that. And I think that's something that's kept us sane. And then one thing I'll add too, and this is very important for people out there that are in couples relationships. We have a date night every week. and I don't really care who um, calls me. It's every
It's
week.
date night.
It is, and I don't care. I mean, I've had people that say, "Hey, why don't you come to our house?" And this is whatever, and whatever. And you've heard of these people, and they're kind of famous people. I'm like, nope, it's date night, and they think I've lost my mind. But I realize that my primary focus has got to be in a certain place, or I will lose my focus of my purpose. And so I think all those things matter, and we've got to not make time for that is to really neglect the call you have on your life. To not make time for that is to skew your purpose so much that your work will become who you are. And that's not supposed to be that way.
No.
Your name is Tommy, who happens to do slash be slash, etc.
Hmm. Yeah, and it is it's not just self-love, which can be if that's that alone is enough of a justification, but it's not
Yeah.
only that. It's so let's say I took this week off or whatever. And let's say I had a big guest that wanted to come on. I said, I no, I gotta go unplug. And you go, well, you're missing out on this huge guest. What are you doing? Well, no. By taking a week off and recalibrating, and because what happens when I take a day off a week, but what happened when I started to go 4 or 5 months, like I said, even my mom said, I can feel or I can hear your anger. And I had
Mm-hmm.
other people tell me that, like, is everything okay? Okay, well, now it's seeping into the actual podcast, the product itself that I'm putting out. It's getting angry. It's losing quality. The toxicity is seeping in like poison. So if you don't take that date night, sure, on paper, you go take that important phone call. On paper, maybe you got a new client or you increased your revenue. But in the long term, you are poisoning the very product you put out or service you provide.
Yeah.
And so you are actually, so it's not only self love, which again is enough of a justification in itself, but it's not only that in a weird way, it actually still is sort of a business expense of your time. You are
Yeah.
a day off is as important as a day training.
It is. And this is an analogy that I've used many, many times with people in my office. And it's anybody out there that has any sort of entrepreneurial concept or service concept or giftings of hospitality. You're a giver, and that's good. I don't want to tell people not to give. As a matter of fact, I want to teach them how to give more and better and be more productive at that. Well, what does that look like? Does that mean you have to work harder? No. That means you have to take time to dig your well deeper. Now, notice what I said, dig your well deeper so that out of that well you have more abundance from which to give.
Okay.
And that's important. And sometimes that well, I'm telling you by experience, you could get down there, you hit some clay, man, and you're like, uh-oh, I'm stuck. And you get tired of working. You do. But that's when you've got to, figure it out and get some gloves on and maybe fight the blisters and keep on going until you break through. Because the more you dig the depth of your own well, the more of that well you'll have to give to other
Give
people.
others.
The principles of encouragement, and you give somebody encouragement, empowerment, and that in fact digs your well deeper. But on the flip side, if you don't do that, you're just digging and giving from a well that's going to run dry, and then you'll be giving on borrowed giving, and that's not going to be as good as that pure-hearted depth of giving.
Well, you'll grow. I remember right after my brother took his life in 2014, like a year later, I was I mean, in hindsight, I can look back and say, yeah, I was probably at the lowest point in my life, which was ironically enough the point in my life that I was trying to give the most.
Yeah.
I was trying to make a charity, I was trying to help people, and I was running on fumes. It was like using credit cards to pay off debts that it was just compiling on itself, and it did lead to me crashing. And yeah, and then you start to grow to resent it. You start to go,
Yeah.
why am I helping these people? I don't have any time myself. And it's like, no one's making you do this. And you grow to hate it. And
Yeah.
so to your to so back to the digging the well, I'm just kind of curious, what is your so I meditate for like 20 to 30 minutes a day. If I can't get a meditation in, I'll even just try to grab 5 minutes and just sit there. I'm just kind of curious. What is your 30 minutes of silence? I don't know why I'm just picturing you in a chair. with your legs
Yeah,
crossed.
I will sit there and for me, I'll pray sometimes, I don't want to spend all my time talking. I want to spend more of my time listening. I figure that's why we have one mouth and two ears. There's probably a
Important ratio in there.
physiological benefit of that, right? But the idea of that is I want to hear. I want to get myself in a place of peace, man. Because when you're giving so much into people's lives, which you want to, and that's a good thing. So I don't want people to stop. I think that's wrong. It it sucks life out of you, and so if you don't have life in you, you can't have anything sucked out of you. So I will just sit there, and when I'm praying, uh, and all I'm thinking is, God, help me understand, like today, help me understand more of the complexities of the human body, so that I can communicate truth to people in a way they understand, so that they can experience true healing in their lives. Show me how to do that. And then I just sit there, and then if I'm quiet, I I usually get ideas. I usually get these things of revelation, like analogies and maybe parables to communicate processes of the body. And that was just today, as just a point of note. And when we'd go on our little vacations and stuff, I like to read a lot. I'll grab a book and I'll read. When I go on a week's vacation, I'll read 3 books. And I'm a fast reader. I want those books. And I want to get them down because I realize that I'm gaining the wisdom of somebody else, hopefully.
Mm.
And so, that's what it looks like for me. And I've learned that if you continue to say yes to other people, you are developing a pattern of refusal to say no to or yes to yourself. And you actually do those people sometimes. If you say yes to the wrong person at the wrong time, you do that person a disservice, and you create a codependency, and you've done them the greatest harm you could do when you should have said no. And there's a line there. We can't say yes all the time. I'm a former yesaholic. So,
Yeah.
I can say that, I'm a recovering yesaholic. No, I'm not anymore, but I was at one time, and the root of that is you want to seek approval from other
Mm.
people. You do. I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't like appreciation?
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, hey, Mark, you're good, man. I appreciate you. You're awesome, whatever. We all like to hear that. But ultimately, our giving to other people, if it's true giving, should not be to seek out a reward from them. It should be true to give to them with this no strings attached love. And that there's a difference in that, because everybody knows the difference between manipulation and true gifts. And I want to be a person that gives gifts of that encouragement, that love, that wisdom, or whatever, in abundance, not expecting anything in return. Yeah. And that's a battle we all face right there, because the world wants satisfaction and gratification, but ultimately that's not what we're supposed to be doing things for. It should be about the higher purpose.
Where do you draw the line for? Because I definitely relate to that. Oh yeah, sure, I'll be there. Yeah, I can do
Yeah.
it. Versus the whole like, no, man, I just and then there's like there's levels of that of where you start to
Yep.
lean into it. You go, it kind of feels good to just to draw lines, and then there's like meta themes in there where you go, wait, I can say no, and then I don't even have to explain why. I can just say no. And you go, and that's this whole powerful thing where you go, oh wait, I used to be, hey man, I can't do the podcast. So this happened and this happened and this happened versus like, hey, thanks for the email, but no, I won't be having you on. Thank you so much though.
Yeah, you don't have an explanation to offer most of the time. You
Yeah.
don't need to do that.
No.
We tend to want to do that because we don't want the person to
It's back to approval.
back to approval, fear of rejection. It goes right back to that whole idea. You want them to agree with your
Yeah.
rejection.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
funny. It's the psychology of it all. But ultimately, with each decision you make, you look. This is what it boils down to. Every day, people get their watches out right now and calculate it out. We get 1,440 minutes. That is all you get. I don't care if you're Tommy or Mark or Fred or Jane. It doesn't matter. 1,440 minutes you get at most, right? And so it's the greatest gift we have is a gift of time, the gift of our presence, the present. That's a gift. So because of that, in that 1,440 minutes, you got to think about, okay, how am I spending as currency that gift of time? Because you can't put value on that. So that's infinite, man. Those minutes, that time, that's invaluable, and it can never be repeated. It can never be refunded. You can have buyer's remorse and try to get a refund. It ain't going to work, So it's like every moment of every day, you want to make that decision on, am I spending this time wisely? So when someone asks you a question or has a request for you, the thing I tell people is stop, breathe, and pause. And you don't have to answer immediately. If you answer immediately, that might be right or it might be wrong. But if you pause and think about it a little bit, it's going to be all right because you'll be able to give an answer. And sometimes the answer is no. It's okay. The Bible says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. It doesn't say let your yes be yes 80% of the time, your no be no 20% of the time. No, it's like whatever is the right answer, yes or no, that's what you do. And it's a good thing. It shows people that you respect them enough to be truthful. And then it creates self-respect. Now, we can't have someone else respect us because we have no control over them. But I submit that it does create a respect, even if they don't like it, from someone else towards you because you were definitive in your answers. And to that end, Tommy, in our world today, there's a lack of definitiveness in answers. People won't answer. They'll tell you a bunch of horse crap, and it doesn't matter. They'll just run their mouth, and yet it means nothing. They'll say they'll be there and won't be there. They say they won't be there and will. So we've got to use our words with great seasoned wisdom.
It's always disappointing, but still I do respect it and appreciate it when I email someone. I would love to have you on the show, and I get a response 2 minutes later, and it just says, "Thank you so much for the offer. I'm afraid I won't be able to do your show." And there's no try back in a month. I've had that. Hey, email me next month. Email you next. Email. I've even had email me a year from today, and because I have clinical OCD, I'll email you a year from the. Oh, sorry, Tom, I can't. I much prefer the people that just. I'm afraid I won't be able to do your. Or some people even a little colder. They go, "Yeah, checked you out. Not sure I'm a fan." Hey, man, God bless. Appreciate the honesty. I walked into that. Nobody forced me to email you. It's the
That's
show
funny.
up and just keep tugging you along. And there is something so refreshing about that
Yeah.
of
Well,
just
nobody
cold
says it feels
honesty.
good.
No,
It
no, it
hurts.
doesn't feel good. And sometimes you're like, hey, that was kind of mean, but okay. But at the same time, right? That's nobody made me do it. I'm in the business of talking to people I don't know. At some point, you and I have spoken a couple times now. At some point, we had never spoken.
That's right.
You keep kicking in doors. Eventually, you're gonna hit someone else with a gun. It's no one's making me do this. I could just go be an accountant or something. It is no one made me email people. And but that is it. So so your day you take your silence in the morning,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to be prying into your,
No, that's
but
fine.
I'm fascinated by daily routines. um your evening quiet with your wife, could you explain that?
Yeah, we come home. We generally get home, around the 6 p.m. hour, uh, ish. Sometimes before, sometimes a little after, depending on the day. Very normal. We schedule in and just do it. We get home. We typically have dinner together. We do sit down at a table. We don't eat in front of the TV. That's just important. I
Yep.
think people we got away from that. We do talk. The TV's not on. We're just talking and eating a meal, and we'll spend half an hour doing that. That brings us to probably 7:30, and then we're early risers. So I get up probably at 4:30, 4:45 Central, which is like dark 30, man. It's early.
You're
There are a
nailing it.
few people up at that time, not many, but hey. So I'm thinking about, we'll sit down. Usually, this is us two. We'll sit on the couch, and we just sit close to each other and just say, "How was your day?" and "Good, good, good," and talk a little bit. Sometimes we won't say anything.
Hmm.
So we just sit there because at the end of the day, you can kind of have a little PTSD ish going on, right? You're
Sure.
like, whoa, because you're digging into people's lives in such an intensity. Many times is what we do. We're the only person that person's sensed listen to them. And from a healing standpoint, I encourage people out there to use your ears. Listening is some of the greatest healing tools you can give people. Just listen.
Hmm.
So we've done that, and so that brings us to probably 7:30, 7:45, generally speaking. And then she likes to take a bath in the evening to chill herself out.
Gotcha.
And I like to give her space,
Sure.
quite honestly, because she needs that, and I know
Hmm.
that. So she'll take a bath, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever, and then I'll sit there, and then typically we'll both get ready and go to bed around the 8:15 hour.
Hmm.
It's a little bit of a weird schedule,
Not at all.
but then we just kind of sit there. Sometimes we'll talk a little bit before we drift off to sleep. Sometimes we won't, but it's a pretty structured routine because structure
It's
builds
wonderful.
predictability. It does. It builds reliability. It builds confidence in what you're doing.
Hmm.
We don't, without structure, you can't have a good foundation. So I just think that's very important for marriage, business, life, etc.
Everything. Oh, I mean, I truly, I mean, to me, a routine removes so much anxiety, and you,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I took 10 days off and I kind of unplugged from the routine, which again is good, but I came back and
Yeah.
I was like, I have emails I got to answer all these emails. I got to answer all these. I was like, my apartment's, I got to clean my apartment. I got to do laundry. And I stopped and I was like, when I just put that on my calendar, I go, today we're going to
Breathe.
vacuum, tomorrow laundry, the next day we're going to dishes, day after that, trash. Just break. Today I'm going to answer the emails, going to make the thumbnails for the podcast tomorrow. And then you go, oh, I can do this. And it just slows it down. No, so I'm a massive fan of structure and routine, and
Yeah.
it's not odd to me, man. I have a weird. I wake up at I wake up at 11:30 in the morning sharp at the crack. I always tell people at the crack of noon. It's
The
I
cracking
was a
in. That's an unusual schedule, but I get it,
and
man.
man, I was a 4 a.m. riser all throughout militant cold shower workout, and to me, it's taken so much of my life to finally become my own boss. It's my own personal like flex. I just
Yeah,
remind
you can
myself,
do
I
that.
go crack a noon every day. I work hard, I still go to the gym, do everything, but it's just my own personal crack a noon. But so for that, what is it that you do again? Because I know the doctor, SWAT team, MLB, weightlifting. Is it is it marriage counseling? Is it self-help? Is it because it's something that I mean, I saw a therapist for several years after my brother died, and it was, every once in a while I'd ask her and I'd be like, you're taking on a lot. Like you're taking on everyone's most intense. It was the most intense hour of my week, and that was 1 hour of one of her work days.
Yeah.
What is it that you do now?
In my own work day now,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I still see people. My wife and I are the CEOs of our business, so we have a lot of employees. We have two nurse practitioners that work with us. We do still see people. We have a whole host of support staff, front desk, medical assistants,
Mm,
uh, financial managers, assistants, etc.
sure, sure.
But during a typical day, I will see somewhere between 6 and 8 people,
Okay.
6 and 8 people. And just like today, it's not unusual. Today, I had some people drive in from out of state to see me, and I spent 2 hours with them. And 2 hours is a long time to spend with anybody,
Yeah.
you know, especially you don't know them. And then I see, again, that number of people pretty much every day. And a visit for me is centered around the idea of look at the human being and really listening to the answer to the question, how are you doing? I don't want to hear fine.
Yeah.
I want to know how you're doing. So ask them how you're doing physically. How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing spiritually? And I answer, and kind of paraphrase or rephrase that back until I really get a handle on what's going on. And then I try to guide them in those areas back to a place where they're going to continue to move forward down and sort of progress in their life. Because a lot of people are stuck in their journeys in life. They can't get to the structure you're talking about because they haven't been there. They're so comfortable, like in their little prisons. Classic story that I learned so much when I was in law enforcement that I still use today. It's Christmas Day, I think, and I was driving through this neighborhood I always worked in, my little beat area, and I saw this guy I'd arrested numerous times, and let's just call him Daryl. And Daryl's waving me down the middle of the road, Tommy. He was like, "What in the this is morning time on a holiday in that neighborhood. Nobody was up. Everybody wasn't
Yeah.
up till almost noon, right? So it's like
Yeah.
normal. This is early." And so he waves me down. I get out. I said, "Man, what are you doing? What do you want? What's going on?" And he goes, "I want to go to jail." What are you talking about? You want to go to jail? Because I want to go to jail. I'm serious. I'm drunk. And I said, "No, you're not. You're not drunk." "Yeah, I am drunk, Sherwood. I'm drunk." I said, "Come on, man." And I put him in the car
Yeah.
and front seat, and we just began to talk. And I was prying to figure out what's really going on because he wasn't drunk, and this was morning time. And he finally told me, and he had some tears in his eyes. He said, "You don't understand. Out here, I have a hard time. I have to make my own rules, and sometimes I don't know where to go. I don't know how I'm going to get a job, don't have my money. I don't know what I'm going to eat. I have to decide what I'm going to wear. But down there, I've got my meals, I got my schedule,
Jeez.
I've got my clothes." And I thought about that, and it sounds crazy on the outset,
No,
but
I don't think it does at all.
it's like, whoa, that's some deep stuff. People today get stuck in their own self-imposed prisons, and so that you get stuck there, and it's in bondage, man. You get in bondage to the things of this world, and you can't get out of that. But you can get out of that. You just can't see yourself getting out of that. So what I do every day is try to help people understand the points and pains of bondage that they're in and try to teach them how to just walk out. The door's open, the cell's open, the window's open. You got to walk out, but I've got to give them the belief and the um, discernment to be able to see that that's a possibility to restore hope. And that's why people refer to us as hope dealers, because we can paint the picture of hope that people can actually see and feel. And yeah, I'll work the medical, functional medicine side of things with nutrient supplements testing. That's in there too. But I'm looking at the whole person, and I want the whole person to be well. And so that is an intense time,
Yeah.
because people trust us with their lives. Men come in and men sort of box things in, don't talk to anybody,
Hmm.
and so we are really counselors. We're like pastors. We're like clinicians. We're like all of that. And so it's a heavy weight,
Very heavy.
heavy burden to carry around.
So you can't go into that job half there. You
No,
got to be well rested. You have to have morning silence. You have to hit the gym. You gotta be well read. You gotta evening time with the wife. If you're not recharged, that's gonna destroy you.
dude, it'll crush you.
Yeah, that'll
People
rip you
don't
apart.
understand it. At the end of the week, man, we do that
Yeah,
Monday through Friday. Let's say we have a full week not traveling anywhere. By Friday, I'm like almost
you're
comatose.
cooked.
I'm like, I'm done, man. And
Yeah.
we'll sit there. There was one time I remember we were sitting there at dinner, and I looked at her and I said, "Are we even alive? What's going on?" And you're like shell shock,
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh my God, I had this one case, this other one, and we'll like compare notes. Like, oh God, I don't even hear anymore because I don't either. Let's just sit here,
Yeah. Sometimes I call my mom every night, and sometimes I'll call her immediately after and I just did like four. She'll be able to
Yeah,
tell. She'd be like, "Do you have a couple today?" And I'll be like, "Why?" She'd be like, "You're not there." And I'll just
you're checked
neurons are
out, man.
barely connecting. She's like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Chicken." And she's like, "I didn't ask what you're eating. That's how you're doing." And that will get you. So you have to you have to dig that well. And then
Yeah.
I guess in the last 5 or so minutes, I'm thinking about your daily going in and asking them how they are and kind of repeating it back to them. I'm just kind of imagining like the two possible paths. Um, have you ever gained energy from someone where you're providing the well, you're taking on their depths and their troubles? Have you ever had an inverse? Have you ever walked away feel like you seeped energy off of someone instead of giving it away?
Yeah, I've learned a lot from people.
Okay.
And, because I realized that, well, look at it like this, used to when I first started, I was probably a little bit, too wired up to do, talking too much, maybe trying to sort of impress them with my knowledge or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a doctor.
Yeah, and I've learned that that's not needed. I need to communicate in as much meaning as few words as possible and let them do the talking without letting them get out of hand. So I have to think about controlling the conversation because if somebody's an emotional wreck, they can go on and repeat
Hmm.
themselves for like 30 minutes and that
Yeah,
that serves about 5 minutes of purpose, right? So I'm always thinking about that. But yeah, the thing that you know, kind of keeps me going is I'm no different than anybody else. Only by the grace of God do I sit here and they sit there. It's just
yeah.
circumstance, we all could be in any situation.
Be
And
Daryl.
so I try to learn what I can learn. And this may sound a little bit crazy, but this is really how I view it. I'm I've learned, and I'm going to say I've gotten better at it with God's help. But when I'm dealing with someone, like right now, I'm dealing with Tommy, and that's it. And you get my full attention, like you're the most important person in my world right now, and you are. And if I communicate that in that way to every single person, they feel validated.
Mm.
They feel special. And they should because they are.
They are. They're the
They
center of
are
the
super
universe right
special.
now. Yeah.
And so to me, I try to do that one by one by one by one. I try not to pull any of the past into that one. And I try not to think about the future and pull them backwards into that one.
Mm.
And that's kind of been how I've been able to do that over the years. And that's given me a lot of peace, a lot of peace of mind to be able to pour into their lives like that, and to see them walk out of here smiling or happy or say thank you.
Mm.
That gives you a good charge.
No, that be the only one here. There's a reason. So like right now, I stretch my arms. I can't reach it. I have to actually physically lean. I always put my phone out of the reach of my own arm.
Yeah,
I'm like, do the podcast and be here.
focus.
And if I do have the phone up early on, I always make sure to say, "Hey, I'm posting the link to the live show right now." I'm not because even on something as simple as a podcast, or it's not heavy, it's not a psychiatry. It's just two guys shooting the shit. You ever just start to see someone's eyes drift? You're just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, come on, what are we doing? Like it's okay. We don't have to do the show anymore. But let's wrap it up then. Don't. Oh yeah, Tommy. Yeah, huh? Cool.
No, my wife and I we're at dinner and stuff like that. No
Put
phones.
them
I
away.
mean, we might have them, but we're not going to be scrolling through the phone when we're no way.
Oh.
I watch couples do that, man. I watch people do that, and it's like I wonder if one person feels disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're both disconnected, but I
Yeah.
wonder if they feel disrespected. And so, I've had people in my office before their phone's going off, they keep checking. I'm like, just stop. Just stop. You can put that out there because what you have to say is important. I say it not what I have to say. I say what you have to say is important. And that's obviously distracting you from what you have to say.
Mm.
So I always like, don't make it about me, it's about them. But it
Yeah.
can be distracting.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. No. Definitely put it away. Um. And then lastly, I want to ask. So back to the. So do you learn from others? Constantly doing therapy, constantly talking to people. That's got to fine hone your self therapy skills, right? Do you ever, it's like that meme, like we all give great advice until we have to give it to ourselves. Then we don't know what to do, right? But when you're disconnected, you go, oh yeah, you should do that. Call or not do that. You're fine. When it comes to myself, I'm like, I don't know what to. How is that? I mean, so many times on this podcast, I've said something, and then like later that night, I'll be in the shower and I'll be like, maybe I should apply that to myself. Like, right? Yeah. Do you get that through therapy?
All the time,
Yeah.
all the time, because like when you give so much like that, you open yourself up for more attacks too.
Uh-huh.
Right. You open yourself up for more anxiety and all that mess that goes with it. So, no, I just I try to take my own advice and realize if I get out of my way, it's God given advice and direction through me, and I should listen to that as well because I'm dependent upon that. And so I try to learn. Sometimes I do a good job, sometimes I don't,
Hmm.
and that's just the
Life.
honest part of that,
Yeah.
like, damn, boy, I really blew that one, didn't I? Tell them to do this, and I do the opposite. Good
Yeah.
God, really? And so there's some of that that goes on, but for the most part, both my wife and I, we have to continue to grow our own selves up because as our platform has grown, now the responsibility is greater. And he who's been given much, much is required. And I,
Hmm.
I realize that. And that's hard because you realize what you say every step, every podcast, every television, whatever it matters, man. And it, like we talked about, it memorializes something out there. So, we've got to take the words we speak and really use them with great caution and care. And so I try to do that when I get into my own self speak. You
Hmm.
know, self speak is a big deal. So I have this little thing that I say every day on the way to work. And it goes like this: thank you, God, that made me into a great man, husband, father, son, and friend. You made me a great leader, influencer, and healer. Therefore, I am focused, diligent, disciplined, and exemplary. I'm at
Hmm.
peace, full of joy, exuding and living with supreme health, abounding in wisdom, and overflowing with love. I hear your voice and follow your directions with a servant and warrior heart and mind. And I say that out of my mouth a couple times a day. And, you know, sometimes I feel like it, sometimes I don't.
Oh yeah.
But it changes the environment within me.
Oh no, um I have little private things that I say to myself every day, and sometimes I really believe them, sometimes I don't believe them at all.
That's
I mean,
right.
sometimes you're in tears and you're like, I'm strong, I'm gonna do this, right? At the worst times in my life, in the most depressed, overweight, drug addicted times in my life, I'd go to bed and I'd tell myself I'm gonna succeed, even if every part of my brain said, no, you're not. No, you're not. It's like standing in a rainstorm and being like, it's sunny out. I would just,
Yeah.
because to me, if I have at least the willpower to still say the words, then I haven't given up, even if I don't believe it. Titanic sinking. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Like, yeah, it might not be, man. We gotta get in the lifeboat. But I'm gonna keep telling myself it because to me, I'm like, the final cessation, the final surrender is going. It's not gonna get better. You've
Right.
lost. It's over. The game is over, and it can be a beautiful sunny day. And if your mindset is it's rainy, then man, it's lost. And we've both been touched by suicide. It's a very
Yeah.
that's not just an abstract idea we're talking about. We've both seen it in our lives, and it is real. And I do, just daily things. I tell God, I'm again like thank you for this life, and I'm gonna succeed. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna have a great day, even if it's a shit day. I stub my toe and
Yeah.
I drop the razor in the shower and I slip and toilet overflowing. I'm just angry and I'm happy. I'm blessed. Thank
Yeah.
God my dishwasher works. Oh, the dishwasher's not work. Just find it because at the very least, saying it to yourself. And lastly, how much can you bench press? Just just
My
curious.
best of all time is 435.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord in heaven.
No, I mean, I
435.
don't that was probably 25 years ago, and I'm
Still, man.
pushing 60 now. So I'll work out with over 300 pounds. That's not unusual. Um, so I still, work hard to try to keep on and maintain muscle tissue. So I work out every day. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a day goes by I don't. I think you should. I mean, people say, well, don't you take a day off? Well, I do take a day off of lifting weights, but I don't really take a day off of physical activity. I don't think we should,
Yeah.
because that's life, man.
I go, even on my days off, I'll still go and even just walk at 3 miles an hour on the
Yeah, do some
treadmill.
cardio, man.
Just
Yeah.
move around. Even just go do some machines, put it on 5 pounds. Just yeah, man, just staying sedentary. That's does not feel right.
Sitting's the new smoking, man, period.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Sherwood, always a pleasure, man. I do love talking. I'm a selfish, energy absorbing succubus. I absorb your wisdom. I get nothing in return, and I apologize for that. But
No way, man. I enjoy it. I always look forward to talking with you, and it's a blessing to me as well. So it's nice to see, someone that is a few years younger than me
just a tad.
getting it. So I appreciate you.
Very slowly and surely. Dr. Sherwood, from the bottom of my heart, I love you, brother. Thank you so much
Love
for
you
coming
too,
on
man.
here. Guys, thank you for watching. Please go in the description. Please go check out Dr. Sherwood. And until next time, my friend, God bless. And thank you so much for your time. 4:35. Unhuman. Yeah, unhuman. Unhuman. You're a machine.